It is no secret that ideas surrounding sexuality are socially constructed, and one does not have to be a sociologist to understand how sexuality has changed as time changes. However, we will argue that it is certain factors, including the sexual hierarchy, gender, culture, and beliefs about race, that shape the ways in which sexuality is constructed, therefore labeling certain sexuality as good and others as bad. Gail Rubin argues that sexuality is created through the hierarchical system of sexual value, which creates good sex and bad sex. Good sex is considered monogamous, heterosexual, and married, and bad sex is anything outside of these realms, or anything outside of the charmed circle. Through the fallacy of misplaced scale, we place disproportionate value on differences within the sexuality that then create struggles and conflicting roles. We admire heterosexuality in our society and then discourage homosexuality, which leads to discrimination. The standards of sexuality change as culture does and creates a psychosexual hierarchy, as Gail Rubin also argues. Individuals then base their sexual preferences off of this universal sexual system that does not work for everyone. Instead, we should judge individuals based off of how they treat each other rather than acts. Sexuality is also maintained through gender roles. Take, for example, the influence of gender on technology, as Carpenter and Casper studied. Despite HPV being the most common sexually transmitted infection, others often see this promiscuity vaccine as only encouraging sex. Our current understandings of gender and sexuality have influenced the technology, which mimics our cultural values. To summarize, our cultural beliefs surrounding technology only influence the technology that is used to validate our beliefs. Masculinity and femininity play a role in nearly all fields and ages. Karen Martin and Emily Kazak illustrate that despite children being seen as asexual, Disney movies still encourage heterosexuality and gender roles. Because heterosexuality is the norm in society and love is seen as magical as long as it's gender conforming, it's mirrored in movies. The movies also teach the visual consumption of women's bodies, and certain women are deemed hypersexual while others are not. For example, Rosalind Gill illustrated that a black model in a Revlon ad was subject to a different type of sexualization because of race. This happens all the time in ads. The sexualization of bodies affects different intersections. In general, women of color are almost subject to being seen as oversexual, even in Disney movies. Karen Martin and Emily Kazak illustrated the ways in which women of color are often the ones who are more flirtatious, more apt to show skin, and have a more active personality surrounding sexuality.
Because of sexual hierarchy, Nomoto exemplifies the issues of interracial dating based on monogamy and heteronormativity. Families and friends play a major role in relationships. Support and acceptance are key. By respecting the friend or family member's choices and judging their relationship based on how their partner treats them, no one feels rejected because of their sexuality. Embedded gender roles of proper feminization and masculinity are priorities when searching for a partner and will continue to be as long as there is a sexual hierarchy. Language is a major component of culture for which we use to communicate with others in a way that is, for the most part, mutually understood. Masad illustrated that sometimes language becomes a barrier between cultures, much like the Western culture and the Arab world. He heavily critiqued the actions of the Gay International on their journey to transform the Arab world in some of their homosexual ways. This conformity to heteronormativity has placed polyamory outside of the charm circle and into a community of its own. Ritchie and Barker explore the polyamorous community, which has produced their own culture to fit their lifestyle outside of monogamy. This may or may not include multiple ethnicities, genders, or sexes, and of course, multiple loves. Because of the non-monogamous interactions, their sexual behavior is considered bad sex. But what is so bad about sharing the love? Well, it confuses people and makes them question their gender roles. What is a relationship? What is love? As well as just about everything they've been taught about sexuality since childhood. To conclude, social structures such as technology, language, media, and gender roles create a division.
This division then makes certain factors such as polyamory, interracial dating, and a non-heteronormative lifestyle to be outside of the charmed circle.
To change the world, we should change our perspective on sexuality.